Madam Chair, members of the New York State Opioid Settlement Fund Advisory Board, thank you for the opportunity to address you this morning. I am Assemblyman Sam Pirozzolo, and I'm honored to represent the 63rd District of Staten Island in the New York State Assembly. I come before this board to raise alarmingly significant concerns with current funding allocations in the City of New York as they relate not only to my district, but to all of Staten Island. To date, Staten Island has yet to receive any allocations or distributions from the City of New York pursuant to the New York State Opioid Settlement Fund. To be very clear, I am sure that opioid manufacturers and distributors did not intend to pay $1.6 billion to the settlement fund with the exclusion of Staten Island residents. I will preface my testimony by expressing that I intend on introducing legislation to remedy this serious problem if it remains unsolved in an effort to bring about much-needed oversight, scrutiny, and equity into the allocations of direct municipal shares of the New York State Opioid Settlement Fund. I can confidently assert, through careful examination of the New York Opioid Settlement Sharing Agreement, the settlement itself, and state legislation associated with said settlement, that discrimination in allocation and distribution methodologies for the restitution and abatement was never intended by the Office of the Attorney General or the legislature. Yet, practically speaking, that is precisely what is happening with respect to Staten Island, which was ground zero in respect to opioid deaths in New York City. It is my understanding that New York City has been allocated a direct municipal share of $286 million, and that $150 million has been allocated for use in the next 5 years, and that process is ongoing. Staten Island has been blatantly deprived from this funding allocation. The City of New York has full discretion on how to allocate these funds without any consultation or oversight from the state or this board, has allocated this funding to New York City health and hospital sites. By not having a New York City health and hospital site on Staten Island, we have been deprived of this crucial funding. The current funding allocation by the City of New York neglects Staten Island. Overdose deaths and substance use disorders have devastatingly affected and continue to devastate our borough, just like every other borough within the City of New York. The intent of the New York State Opioid Settlement Fund was never meant to exclude any New Yorker based on their residence or lack of a city hospital. Denying Staten Island residents resources that were specifically earmarked to provide much-needed care and protection is without a doubt discriminatory and likely illegal. I call on this board to ensure that all New Yorkers, irrespective of their county of residence, have access to settlement funds that were obtained to help them. Discrimination has no place in New York, and much less in the area of substance abuse prevention. I call on Governor Kathy Hochul, Attorney General Letitia James, New York City Deputy Mayor for Health and Human Services Ann Williams-Ism, New York City Department of Health Commissioner Dr. Ashwin Vasan, and Commissioner of OASIS, and this advisory board to immediately rectify this seemingly inadvertent exclusion of Staten Island in the funding allocation of the New York State Opioid Settlement Fund dollars going forward, and to compensate Staten Island retroactively, equitably, and proportionately in relation to existing allocations and distributions made in the City of New York. If this allocation and distribution deficiency and inequity is not rectified forthwith by municipal and/or state authorities, I intend on pursuing all legislative avenues in the New York State Assembly this legislative session to ensure that no New Yorker is excluded from the New York State Opioid Settlement Fund. Given the history of this unacceptable oversight, I respectfully request that a Staten Islander be appointed to this board with my input to help navigate any obstacles that may arise. Thank you for your time today, and I stand ready to partner with you to ensure that Staten Islanders are granted equity and life-saving access to substance use prevention that they deserve. I am my constituents' voice in their government, and I will always fight for the needs of my community, especially the needs of our most vulnerable. I thank you for your time today. I do understand that this is an advisory board, but there can be advice on this money reaching every New Yorker without any exclusions whatsoever. So thank you very much.